Hey, what is going on everyone? Welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at how to win, or at least how to better succeed in the 20 wins challenge. So you guys are probably looking around for tips and stuff, so look no further. We are going to be discussing a lot of tips here, and I'm going to give my insight into this challenge. However, I would like you to note that I did not really get to test the challenge that much before writing my guide. However, I did play around a little bit more afterwards, just before I made this video. So just keep in mind, most of these tips here are based on my opinion and experiences, as well as from information that I would have gathered from watching other YouTubers make their own videos. So just bear that in mind there as we move on. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So what is the 20 wins challenge? Well, to answer that question there folks, the 20 wins challenge is going to be a limited time event available to all players who are level 8 and above, and this challenge will be running from Wednesday 16th to Sunday 21st of August. Now, as the title suggests, this event requires participants to battle very vigorously until they manage to either come up with 20 wins or maybe even just stop wherever they were at last before getting 3 losses. So 3 losses and you're out, or 20 wins. It's a give or take really, whichever one comes first. So what's more to this challenge here is that there are several huge rewards waiting for you as you climb the milestone tiers. So as an added bonus, Supercell also decided to be very kind to us here, for those of us who are usually free to play. At least I know I've been a free to play individual myself for quite a long time. However, with this challenge I might actually gem a little bit. I'm not sure yet. Depending how things go, I may actually spend a little bit of money, but we'll see how that goes anyways. So the entry fee was reduced from 100 gems per entry to 10 gems. So this means that if you had 100 gems, you can get like 10 entries there. So that is a lot in itself there. Additionally, they did give us 3 free entries, so you have a few extra chances for free. So make good use of it, guys. Do not squander it. Just make sure that you take full advantage of these opportunities given to you here, because they are just Supercell trying to be a little bit more generous to us. So it is in your best interest to try to make full use of it. So what's the point of having such a very rewarding challenge that is this long and difficult? Well, my friends, the answer to that is very simple. The Clash Royale team at Supercell decided that they would like to make this their own way of trying to figure out who are good candidates for their upcoming bracket tournaments to determine who will participate in the Crown Championship Global Series. Now, this event will be hosted later this year, so they're using this challenge right now to kind of predetermine who may get into it. So it will definitely take a lot to really get to 20 wins, and there will definitely have to be a couple people who are able to do this, and these people will be very capable players. Now, granted that the odds may be 1 in every 17,000 players may actually get this far in the challenge, I don't think that you should fret too much. I mean, this is a difficult challenge, but hey, anything is possible. However, as you move further into the event, obviously you're going to be running into more and more skilled players, so just be very careful as you progress. So the reason why the rewards are so big is because they decided to just give a good reward to people who are free to play and maybe struggling to level up some of their cards. So that's the main reason why they have such good chests. Like even the legendary chest at 14 wins, I believe it is there to help some of us there just unlock that legendary card that we may be missing from our collection. Like for me, I'm missing the log on my second account there, so that's why I'm using an improvised deck that you would be seeing on the screen below. Now the 250,000 gold, that's also another big reward that they are giving us here. If you are able to make 20 wins, it is expected that you would obviously level just about every single card you have up to tournament standard, so that you may use it for the upcoming Crown Championship Global Series. So yeah, that's basically why they have these rewards set out for us here, and it's just basically their way of just figuring out who is the best set of people to really participate. So let's just give a round of applause to Supercell there for coming up with this idea. So anyways guys, now that we've discussed what the challenge is and what it is about, let's just move on to some of the challenge tips. So this is probably what most of you are tuning in for, so just sit back, relax, pull up a chair, and maybe grab a pen and just take note of what I have to say. So guys and girls, I mean, I can't ignore my female viewers here because I know I do have some of you in the audience, but whatever. Let's just get right to the tips that I have prepared for you all. And our first tip is gonna be about the best times to play the event. So this video is gonna be up after the first day, of course, but generally speaking, a lot of people just have this idea that if you play the challenge or any new event for that matter within the first 12 to 24 hours, it is going to be very easy for you. Now the reason why they think this, I believe, would be because a large percentage of the player pool will be eager to try out the new event, and as such there will be a lot of casual players in the mix among a few pros who will just want to just get the event out of the way and resume with whatever commitments they have otherwise. So generally it does make sense in a way. So if you want the best odds at just succeeding in any new challenge in the future, try playing within the first 12 hours at least. Maybe you might bump into a lot of casual players and things may go your way. And then there's also another time in which you can play the event, and this would be within the last 2 days maybe, because this is a very extended challenge. So by the end of it all, I would assume that most of the professional players would have gotten their 20 wins already, and a handful of maybe tryhards and just decent players overall would have also either succeeded or given up. So what will be left will be just the people who decided to wait things out, and this should still consist of mainly casual players with a few exceptions in between. So if anything, wait for the last day and then give it a go again if any previous attempts had failed you. So it may be easier for you to just try much later in the challenge than earlier on. So our next tip is going to be about optimal conditions. So I say this every now and then, and I'm not joking guys, this is something very serious, so do pay attention to it. Don't just think it's just silly. So with regards to optimal conditions, I would say that you need to be rid yourself of any and all external or real life distractions. So these distractions can really just take your attention away from whatever you're doing in a match, and it can really mess you up. So some examples of distractions would include maybe a TV that's playing, your pets maybe, or friends and relatives. I'm sure we all have that one or two people in our lives that can just grab our attention at the wrong time. So yeah, just try to isolate yourself. Just look for a room where you can be alone and just focus on the battles at hand. And if you are able to do this, you will be able to focus, and when you're able to focus, that means that you will be able to just commit to what you are seeing on the screen and just react appropriately. So some other tips concerning the optimal conditions would also include just turning off your notifications for any apps in general that may have any sort of a pop-up notification. So these would mostly include social media apps like Facebook or WhatsApp or anything like that. So yeah, the reason why you would want to just turn these off would be because you don't want these things cropping up in the middle of battle, and it can really just mess with your thinking in the heat of a moment and just cause you to mess up. So yeah, don't let these things distract you. Just turn them off so that they don't bother you when you're trying to just finish up a battle that you would just need all of your attention on. So another tip concerning optimal conditions would be to just ensure that your internet connection is stable, because trust me, I'm speaking from experience, and it is very unpleasant to play any of these challenges when there is just that chance that you will have major lag spikes and you're just sitting there doing nothing because you can't even see what's going on. It is just like the ultimate way to just make you rage. So if you want to avoid tilts, at least from lag, just go somewhere that you can just have a stable connection and all will be fine. And our last tip concerning optimal conditions would be to ensure that your device is fully charged, or at least sufficiently charged, when you are going to play the events. Now the reason why I say this is because you really don't want a low battery notification coming up on you when you're playing against maybe one of the top in the world. I mean, let's face it, if you are able to get somewhere maybe above 15 wins and you're getting really darn close to that 20 wins, and you need to keep each entry that you have up, you really don't want to suffer any sort of just distractions or anything that can just change the way you see what is in front of you on your screen. So like the screen dimming and stuff, you really don't want that happening. So yeah, just charge your devices to avoid any of that happening. And let's face it, a device dying on you in the middle of a match is probably one of the worst things that can happen. So that concludes our look at the optimal conditions. So coming up next on our list of tips would be patience. So if I had to describe this challenge in just one word, what do you think it would be? Well folks, I'd say this challenge in a single word would be difficult. Yep, you heard me right there folks, I said difficult. Now the reason I say this is because the odds of a person winning this challenge is very small given how stretched out it is. It's only just likely that a small percentage of the players who do enter will make it to 20 wins, and it's roughly 1 in every 17,000, so yeah, it's pretty darn unlikely that it will happen. However, some people that I do know have been doing pretty darn well. Shout out to Mune7 for giving me a minor control deck that I really liked using. I'm playing around with it a bit, and he actually got to 18 wins on the first day, 18-0 let me add. Pretty good guy there. And shout out to JD's Gaming for actually being the first person that I know to make it to 20 wins. Good job, man. Keep up all the good work. So if you guys are interested, you can check out his channel for more Clash content if you all have the time really. So yeah. Anyways, back to what I was. Challenge is really darn stretched out. There are going to be a lot of skill players in it. So when you're playing the challenge and you are free to play and stuff, so your gems and stuff are limited, you will want to just play very conservatively, because if you play conservatively or passively a little bit, you can build an elixir advantage and all that stuff there. So you got like 6 minutes of time, make full use of it. Depending on your deck, you'll make different types of pushes. If you're playing a beatdown deck, make the right choices early game so you can have those 1 or 2 pretty decent pushes and get a lot of damage done in a short amount of time over the course of the match, I guess, like within 2 or 3 big pushes. And if you're playing something like a chip deck or a control deck or any kind, just make sure that you push efficiently, cheaply, and you can lock down defense. So just have some mini pushes going, like a minor villains or minor minions, anything like that, or minor bats, whatever works for you, that you have your defenses locked down. Now if you at least get to be a control player, I guess, if you like control and you are able to play it efficiently, you can lock down defenses almost perfectly at times, and it can really break people. In fact, in some points in time, you might actually trigger them in the middle of a match. They might begin spamming emotes and stuff, so be careful of that, I guess. A triggered person is not a happy person, I guess, but at least they won't be playing any better actually, because in fact if you trigger them, I guess this is why some people BM in the first place, they may actually end up doing worse because they will not be able to focus and stuff. Anyways, let's move on to our next point. So we are now going to be talking about elixir management. So as always guys, you are expected to show good elixir management skills when playing these matches, so it is important that you understand you should not overcommit or extend on a big push with your tanks like the golem and stuff. Of course, if you are an experienced player, you would know what is the right amount to just support your golem and stuff. And there is also a limit that you should be willing to spend on offense or defense. So a good control player and stuff would know how much elixir he should really spend on defense and when he should spend enough elixir on offense there to make his little mini pushes and chip damage count. So yeah, it is important that you recognize these things here, and it is also important that you recognize what kind of deck your opponent is playing, because the sooner you can read out the situation, the faster you'll be able to just react to what they have and formulate a game plan of some sort to just manage your elixir efficiently. If they have Inferno Dragon, you know that you'll want to use your minions or bats whenever they have that up and coming at you. And depending on the archetype that you're playing, things are going to be a little bit different where crown tower damage is concerned. If you're playing a beatdown deck, it is quite alright to take a lot of damage on your tower early game. And as a matter of fact, it is quite okay to even lose a tower, because when you're playing beatdown and you are managing your elixir correctly and you are gaining the elixir lead, you would be able to just steamroll your opponents in that one push or maybe even 2 pushes at most and just level the place with them. Now, since we already discussed the beatdown archetype, let me just reference how siege and control would work. So when you're playing a siege deck, you will want to play careful defense first, gain an elixir advantage, and then cash in that elixir advantage in the form of dropping an expo or a mortar. Now, the reason why you should play careful defense first is because let's say you lose a tower and you are trying to drop that expo or mortar down at the bridge or near the bridge to get any damage done onto the tower there. It is going to be quite difficult for you to get any damage done at all, and the reason why I say this is because your opponents can just swarm your buildings at any given point in time and just mess up everything. And the same kind of goes for control as well. If you're defending with an Inferno tower and you lose a tower, there's almost no coming back because your damage comes from chip while they can just mess around with your defenses. So let's say they have a Hog Rider coming and you know it and you're getting ready to plant your Inferno tower, they can just drop a Goblin Gang in the base and just kind of mess everything up. So you're gonna have a hard time defending and just doing anything after you lose a tower with control or siege. So careful defense first, gain the elixir advantage again, and then you cash in. So let's move on to our next point. So our next point is going to be about win conditions. So basically, a win condition is a card that helps you get a lot of damage done onto a tower at any given point in time. It is like your secret weapon, so to say, and it is what makes your deck works. So win conditions can include big cards like the Giant or Golem, or even smaller cards like the Miner and the Goblin Barrel. Typically, these cards, if you just play them right, they will help you out a lot in the long run. Now, speaking of specific cards as well, there are also cards that you should consider bringing with you in any given match, and these cards would generally need specific counters. So this is our next point here, folks. You will want to bring some cards that can be quite annoying for your opponent to deal with. You don't have to bring a bunch of them, just one of them is nice, maybe two at times, depends on how you build your deck. So these win conditions would, well, not win conditions, but these cards, they can come in the forms of like a Bandit, Goblin Barrel, or Graveyard. Any cards like these that require a specific answer to it, otherwise it will get a lot of damage done. Just consider bringing one of them in your deck and figuring out how best to use it. Our next point is going to be about playing smart. So whether you realize it or not, everyone has a pattern. So for those of you who would have tuned in to my last guide, you would remember that I talked about predictive plays. So what is a prediction? A prediction would be just the anticipation of your opponent's moves based on the patterns that they have from before, and you are going to be trying to act against it. So typically your opponents might have a kind of 1-2 kind of punch when they are pushing. Let's say they use a Ice Golem and then a Hog Rider, or a Giant and then Wizard. Every time you see the Hog Rider or the Ice Golem really, and then the Giant and stuff, you know what's coming behind it. So the sooner that you can recognize these patterns, the sooner that you'll be able to have a game plan ready and just be just prepared for it overall. So when you see that Ice Golem or Giant drop, you ready your defenses, or just hover arrows if they have like Minion Horde or something like that. Anything like that works really. And besides offense, your opponents can have patterns on defense as well. So let's say they defend your Bandit and Mini P.E.K.K.A. with a Skeleton Army or Goblin Gang every single time in the center of the map. If they do this 2 or 3 times and you don't answer it before, you can in fact just play something like a log or poison, anything like that, preemptively near or over the area that they drop their troops. And what this will do is it will just screw over their counters because you countered their counter, and they will be forced to just find a new way to counter the card that is posing a threat to them. Now, do keep in mind, you even have your own patterns as well. So what you want to do is just change up your defense patterns a little bit every now and then. Try to be conscious of what you do and when you do it, and know your opponent's card rotation, so that if they have something like a log which can counter your melee goblins or your skeleton army, whatever it is, just try to avoid using that card when they have it in hand, and maybe play something else like your bandit, bats, whatever it is. So by doing this, you should be able to avoid being predicted yourself and suffering for it. So our last tip is going to be about playing safe. So if you're comfortable with any specific archetype in the game, or any specific deck for that matter, do not panic and do not force yourself to play something that you are just not able to use at all. Like for me, I generally don't use siege decks, so it is not advisable that I pick up a siege deck for this challenge. So I'm gonna stick with more like a beatdown hybrid deck, or maybe a control deck, anything like that, something that's within my comfort zone. So that's pretty much it for my list of tips overall. And now folks, let's get down to some recommended cards. Okay guys, like always, I would just like to make a quick disclaimer here. All of these cards that I am about to list here are just good in my opinion, and they do not necessarily work well together in the same deck. Like, you cannot just simply make a deck with all of the cards that I'm about to list. If you can though, good for you, but overall I'm gonna recommend just playing with other cards outside of this list as well. So let's get on with it. So our first card is gonna be my favorite, the Miner. The Miner himself, he brings around the control archetype, so he is gonna be very effective right now in this current meta, and he can be utilized by any of you out there who are capable of solid defense and know when and where to just chip away with him and stuff. So he can hold a lot of value if you just use him correctly. So he does have a lot of roles, and it does make him versatile as well. So our next cards are going to be the Mini P.E.K.K.A and the Ice Wizard. Both of these cards were recently buffed, and they can be extremely valuable, especially on defense right now. The bats and the skeletons die to the Ice Wizard now in one shot, and the Mini P.E.K.K.A does kill almost any support troop right now. So cards like the Wizard, the E-Wiz, and the Musketeer, they will all die to the Mini P.E.K.K.A in just one shot right now. So coming up next on our list, we have the Inferno Tower, Ice Spirit, and Bats. All of these cards can be used in control decks, and generally the Ice Spirit and the Bats overall are great because they have their cycling aspects, and they hold a lot of value for just 1 and 2 elixir each. So consider bringing these in your deck if you want some just cheap defense or just really reliable cards that you can always find some value with. And next on our list, we have the lightning and rocket spells. As always, these high damage spells can be very efficient overall in battles. So let's say you are running a golem deck or a lava hound deck, the lightning spell can be very handy, even in a P.E.K.K.A deck as well. The lightning spell holds a lot of value in resetting Inferno Towers, getting rid of any support troops, and just resetting the charge on Sparky and the Inferno Dragon and stuff. However, the rocket as well, good in bait decks like the log bait deck as well. It holds just so much damage for just 6 elixir there. If you can defend and defend and defend and just get rocket value the entire match, you can win the game just by rocket chip damage. However, I mean, it's not so much chip, but you know what I mean. Anyways, just one more thing about the rocket. You do, however, have the option to blow up anything in a small area as well, so that's why it's pretty nice to have as well. So our next 2 spells would include the Fireball and the Poison. Also very efficient cards for 4 elixir each. They have their own purposes. The Fireball is better for more immediate damage because it has a decent area of effect, and it just kills almost anything, or at least critically injures it. Now the Poison, on the other hand, it deals damage in ticks, and it has a very wide area of effect. So if your opponent has something like Skeleton Army, Goblin Gang, Minion Horde, Minions, Bats, anything like that, the Poison will smother all of that there and kill it within 1 to maybe 3 ticks. So coming up next on our list, we have the Log. So if you are fortunate enough to have this card unlocked, then do not let it collect dust, because it is a very valuable spell for just a cost of 2 elixir. So just pick it up and let it go. Log's gonna make them heads roll. So guys, for those of you who would have experience using this card, you will know that it is a very good counter to a lot of things like a Skeleton Army, a Goblin Gang, the Goblin Barrel as well, Princess, all of that stuff there, and its knockback effect can reset the charge of most things like the Battle Ram and the Princes, but it does not reset Sparky. However, it does push back things, so when things are pushed back, they kinda have to retarget to something closer usually. So overall, it's a great card for just 2 elixir. And now folks, our last card on this list is the Bowler. So usually I list the Bowler alongside the Baby Dragon and the good old Executioner, but today I'm not gonna be listing them. They are still very good cards overall, but I think the Bowler deserves to shine a little bit more these days because of the current meta. The Bowler does counter siege decks well because he is very bulky and he is able to just attack from a range. Plus he has that knockback effect as well, which makes him very valuable, and cards like the Mini P.E.K.K.A and the Ice Wizard are going to be in a lot of decks, so you can pretty much deny them. And if you are skilled enough to time it right, you can use a Bowler to completely kill a Goblin Barrel if you time it correctly behind your tower. So guys, I hope this list of suggested cards would help you out to do better in the challenge, and if you're interested in the decks that I'm using currently right now, my first deck is a minor control deck. It is a minor, poison, inferno tower, ice spirit, e-wiz, goblin gang, knight, and mega minion. That's the first deck there, and my second deck is ice spirit, bats, elixir collector, the bandit and battle ram, the three musketeers, the log, and the ice golem. So that's pretty much the entire deck there, and those decks are really good overall. So if you want to give them a try, do give them a spin sometime and let me know what you think. So that's gonna be it for all the tips and stuff, and let's just discuss the rewards for the challenge now. So at 2 wins you're gonna get 2,500 gold. At 5 wins we are gonna get a giant chest from your current arena. At 9 wins we get a magical chest from your current arena. At 14 wins you get a legendary chest, which is arena exclusive, really, it doesn't matter. And at 20 wins, this is the big one, you get 250,000 gold and a chance to compete in the bracket tournaments for the qualifiers that will lead up to the CCGS later this year. So if any of you do make it to 20 wins, good luck, and just try to play really smart like I said before. Remember all the tips that I gave you here, and just be safe. Thanks to you guys so much for viewing today's video. I'm really sorry that it came out late. I was a bit busy these last few days and stuff, so just please forgive me. Anyways guys, remember, if you keep on digging, you'll eventually strike gold, but even then, keep on digging deeper. You'll eventually come across something even more worth your while. So once again everyone, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace out guys.